ladies and gentlemen. I first want to start by making a disclaimer. So, I'm a student of the Minister of Finance, Professor Audit. He was my lecturer at Audit University in South Africa. So the challenge of being a policy advocate when the Minister of Finance and Economic Development is your teacher is that when you get things correct, you often disown the correctness and say it belongs to the minister. But when I make mistakes, they definitely they are mine. So I think it's important to make that clarification to ensure that the minister's good name remains. So that's the disclaimer. I want to recognize colleagues from various economic support institutions. I gather we are soon going to be joined by officers from the Ministry of Finance, from the Zimbabwe Investment Development Authority. Yet we are also getting colleagues from Zimbabwe who are coming, that's the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority. We do have colleagues from the Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce who are also coming. And thank you to the Zimbabwe Economic Society for gracing this occasion. We do have colleagues from the media. I think very important in that the 50th Estate supports us in making sure that the policy proposals get known by the people around Zimbabwe, including the policymakers. We also recognize our colleagues from the President Atlas Network, as well as our partners, the Students for Liberty in Zimbabwe. Thank you so much for coming. And we do have colleagues from civil society, the small to medium enterprise sector, who are doing fantastic work with the Ministry for Small to Medium Enterprise. And the challenge, or rather the issue, the economic status in Zimbabwe, which I'm also happy that our colleagues at Atlas Network are beginning to confront, is the challenge or question of informality of the economy, especially in the developing world. So I gather from the Zimbabwe National Chamber of Commerce website that 64.1% of Zimbabwe's GDP by purchasing power parity is in the informal sector. So when one tries to understand the amount of money circulating in the economy, you can't decipher or know how much is circulating in the formal economy and how much is circulating in the informal economy. We would also know that in last year's policy debate, it was the position of the ministry that the informal sector was collapsing the local currency, then the Zimbabwe was not. On the 9th of April 2024, Zimbabwe adopted a new currency called the Zimbabwe Gold, or ZiG in short. It appears to me that that currency is teetering towards the abyss as well. We don't know whether it is the guys to my extreme right in the informal sector who are also collapsing the currency or what. But that is a policy matter for debate on some other day. We are very proud as the Eastern Caucus to have taken this seminal process of having an audit, a data-driven process of having an economic freedom audit in Zimbabwe. And I would say it is the first one to take place entirely in Zimbabwe via Zimbabwean institution, of course, with international partners. Most of the reports we often get are, be it the World Bank, the UN, either just with scholars and researchers from Washington or from London and stuff like that. And I think these new ones are moved by the Fraser Institute to domesticate and really sink the analysis within the context, both economic and political, is plausible. But we must also commend the government of Zimbabwe through both the Ministry of Finance and ZIDA for engaging us thoroughly as we were developing this process. We know from Zimbabwe's political historiography that it would have not been easy for the government of Zimbabwe or its agents to engage a private think tank in discussing such depth and delicate issues. So I think it's important for us to acknowledge the policy shift that is taking place within Zimbabwe, and it is also our hope that this launch is not the end in itself. but that will actually check, this report as an advocacy tool to engage the government of Zimbabwe towards ensuring that the 5 metrics which are used in constructing this report actually begin to become the salt and pepper of Zimbabwe's economic framework. So my role this morning is not to launch or discuss the report, but basically I think just to give you some snippets of the background of where we are coming from and relate with what is happening elsewhere. Colleagues, you would learn from the report that Zimbabwe, just like many other post-colonial societies